Next, coming to a new type of number, which is rational number, which you haven't learned in your lower classes. The fourth type is rational number. What is a rational number? Any number if you can express it in the form of P by Q. Any number if you can express it in the form of P by Q. Now what is P and Q? Before that, let me say that you can easily understand P by Q means it's actually a function. It's a fraction. So because it is a fraction, the denominator has to be not equal to 0, because denominator, if it is equal to 0, then the fraction would not exist. So rational numbers are such numbers which can be expressed in the form of P by Q, where Q is not equals to 0. Also we can say that P and Q should also belong to integers, the set of integers. It has to be in the form of negative integers, 0 and positive integers. Okay? And the next point is that the GCD, that is highest common divisor or greatest common divisor, or you can say the highest common factor of P and Q has to be 1. In broader sense, it means that the P by Q should always be in simplest form. P and Q, that is P and Q should always be in simplest form. Now, if we sum up this, the set of rational numbers, if we try to sum it up, we can say that rational numbers are actually written by the letter Q, that is equals to P by Q, comma, Q not equals to 0, and P comma Q belongs to Z. Also GCD of P comma Q equals to 1. Now what is that? It should be in a simplest form. If I take the number as 9 by 4, 9 by 4, can there be any number which can reduce 9 and 4 both the numbers? No, there are no such number which can reduce 9 and 4 to simplest form. So therefore 9 by 4 is in simplest form. But if I take the number 4 by 8, we know that 4 2s are 8. So it can be written as 1 by 2, which is in simplest form. But 4 by 8 is not in simplest form. 1 by 2 is in simplest form. So henceforth, rational number, one important criteria you should keep in mind, that it should always be in simplest form. Like if I say few examples, if I'm taking 9 by 4. 9 by 4 is a rational number. It is a rational number. Why this is a rational number? Because look, 9 and 4. 9 belongs to set of integers. 4 also belongs to set of integers. Also we can say that Q is not equals to 0. Okay? And it is in simplest form. So 9 by 4 is a rational number. Also if I ask you that whether 0 is a rational number or not. 0, you may say that 0 is only one number. Obviously 0 is a integer. But 0 in broader sense, we know that 0 can be expressed in the form of 0 by 1, because that is also equal to 0. So 0 by 1, because 0 can be expressed in the form of 0 by 1, so we can say that both 0 and 1 are integers. Also highest common, this is in simplest form. So therefore we can say that 0 is a rational number. Hope it is clear. Next, the next set of number is irrational numbers. It is irrational numbers. The next set of numbers is irrational numbers. Now what are irrational numbers? Irrational means obviously you can understand that numbers which cannot be expressed in the form of p by q, those type of numbers will be actually called irrational numbers. So henceforth it's obviously the opposite of rational numbers. So numbers which cannot be expressed, numbers which cannot be expressed in the form of p by q are called irrational numbers. For example, actually square root, cube root of imperfect squares and cubes are irrational numbers. Now what do you mean by imperfect squares and imperfect cubes? Like for example, if I say suppose square root of 2, imperfect means the inside number of the square is not a square of any number. Is 2 a square of any number? No. So root 2 shouldn't be having so root 2 will be having such a value, like we know that root 2 has a value of 1.41421356 This number can never be expressed in such form. Can it be expressed in any type of numbers? Because we don't know where the number is ending. So can it be expressed in the form of p by q? Can it be expressed in the form of fraction form of any two numbers? Never. If the number was in this sort of, like if the number was 1.41, this I can write it as 141 by 100, where 141 is a integer and 100 is also an integer, and they are in simplest form. Then this number can be termed as a rational number. But over here after decimal point there is no particular sequence. So henceforth can this number be expressed in the form of as a fractional form or in p by q form where both should be integers? It's not possible. Henceforth root 2 is always an irrational number. If I talk about imperfect cubes, like suppose cube root of 17. Is 17 a perfect cube? Never. That's why this is an irrational number. If you find out the value of this, you will find this as 2.571281 ... Henceforth here also we cannot find that any such type of number. Can this number be expressed in the form of p by q? Never. But if I have the number of cube root of 27, so this is an irrational number. This is also an irrational number. Now cube root of 27, we know that 27 is actually 3 cube, which can be written as 3 to the power 3 by 3. That is equals to 3. Now 3 can be expressed in the form of 3 by 1, which is in the form of p by q. Yes or no? Which is in the form of, not belongs to, it's actually 3 by 1 is in the form of p by q. Henceforth this can be termed as a rational number. But these two numbers are always irrational numbers. Hope the concept of rational and irrational numbers are clear to you. Last but not the least, I'll just give you the sum up of rational numbers and irrational numbers. So rational numbers and irrational numbers, we can write this in the form of a chart. So I'm rubbing this part. rational numbers and irrational numbers. If I am making it in the form of a chart form, then I can understand at the very center there is actually the natural numbers, then comes the whole numbers, because whole numbers are actually natural number is actually contained in whole numbers, and after whole numbers will come integers because this is the integers, because natural numbers and whole numbers are contained in integers. Natural number you can write 1, 2, 3, comma, dot, dot, dot. Here you can write 0. Here you can get a whole number can be 1. It can be cube root of 27 just now, which I have done. Many more you can add them up. Among the integers you can write -3, -2, -1. And in the outside part, which can be the rational numbers, these are actually all rational numbers. So few examples of rational numbers you can write over here, like under root 49. This is a rational number because under root 49 is equals to 7, which can be expressed in the form of 7 by 1. Also you can write some other numbers as 5 by 9, 6 by 17, etc. And among the irrational numbers which have no connection with the types of numbers, because it is totally different from this setup, so henceforth these can be, you can write it as root 18, under root minus under root 4, minus 2 by 5. These all numbers can be expressed as irrational numbers. So when you talk about the real number line, when you talk about the real numbers is actually the entire number system, the entire line which we have drawn in the at the first of the beginning of this session. I have drawn the number line. So that is a real number line. It actually comprises of the rational numbers as well as the irrational numbers. So it comprises of actually rational numbers and the irrational numbers. Here we end today's session. Hope you enjoyed the session. If you have any doubts regarding the session, please feel free to write in the chat box, and happy learning. Next class when we will meet, we will learn some basic concepts of rational numbers and irrational numbers. How will you express it and all. Thank you and God bless.